Hey, good people. Let me just go ahead and start off now by saying go ahead and clutch your pearls because it's going to get real in this conversation that we about to have on tonight. Let me just give you that precursor. So, welcome to my live. First off, I always want to welcome you. I'm Crystal Joy. I am a licensed professional counselor as well as a parent coach. And I help Christian parents in coaching. I help them of tweens and teens and young adults build tangible skills so that they can stop the madness, stop the chaos, to not only love their kids, but like them as well. So welcome to my live. And so tonight, I want you just to stay with me, hear what I have to say, see if it may be helpful. Hopefully it is. I think it will be. But definitely I want you to give me feedback. If I have helped you in any kind of way from my previous videos, from this particular video, please drop it in the comments and let me know. Give me your feedback. You can also DM me and let me know what you think. I would absolutely love to hear your feedback and your input. Okay? Also, tonight, if you hear something that helps you or can help someone else, please comment, please share, please share, as well as like the video so that the algorithm can send it to other people and it can support the cause of you being empowered, but also you empowering your young people. Okay, so this topic is one that I always, I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I was going to come back and talk about it. This is a topic that can probably be discussed for weeks, okay, because there's so many roads that we can go down. There's so many facets, so many pieces. But tonight, my aim and my intention is to help you go down straight street. So straight talk street tonight is where we're going. That's the road that we're driving down tonight. So first off, when it comes to the mistakes that parents sometimes makes regarding talking to their teens about taboo topics, I first want you to remember this mantra. The more uncomfortable you are when it comes to talking to them about certain topics, the more they will be as well. Because they're reading your cues and they're reading your body language and they're also mirroring your behavior. So if you're cringing, if you're kind of like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to you about this, then they're going to be like, well, shoot, we ain't got to have a conversation. Have a good one. You know what I'm saying? They're going to definitely want to end it or avoid it. So remember that mantra. The more uncomfortable that you are, the more they will also be. Okay? The other thing that I want you to remember, hey, I'm Joss, thank you for joining. I appreciate that. The other thing I want you to remember is I want you to remember your role. So I am going to take tonight's video, I'm going to put it in the context if I were coaching you. Okay, so if I were your parent coach and I were helping you through this situation, here is how I would offer it to you. This is what I would say, or this would be my style. You are here as your role or your job in your child's life. Your role is to educate, your role is to empower, and your role is to support your child during these types of discussions. In general, yes, but specifically when it comes to these type of discussions, you want to educate, empower, and support. For my Christian parents, you also want to implement scripture. Okay, but the job doesn't change. You still want to educate, you still want to empower, you still want to support. What does that mean? Educate means that I'm going to give you the real information. I'm going to give you the real terminology. I'm not going to shame you for wanting to know. Empower means that I'm going to break down any myths that you may have. I'm also going to look up certain information so that I can be well informed and I can give you the accurate information when it comes to these particular topics. And then support. Support just means if you have other questions as my child, I have an open door policy. I want to welcome you in order to talk to me about these particular things. And instead of shunning you or saying, get out of my face with that, or you shouldn't be thinking about that, or what have you. Okay, so educate, empower, and support. Those are your three main entities that you're needing to keep in mind. So here are some things to be mindful of when approaching the subject. I'm going to actually talk about the topic of sex, drugs, and pornography. Okay, now are any churches talking about this? Y'all let me know in the comments, because when I was coming up, I grew up Church of God in Christ, and we wasn't talking about none of this. All right, so we had to kind of hear it from our parents, get little bits and pieces, but there wasn't a lot being shared. So I don't know if any of this is being discussed in churches and youth groups and things of that nature, but definitely, let me know. The first thing I want you to be mindful of is be proactive, not reactive. And what that means is you don't want to play catch up. So you don't want your child to find something out when it comes to either of these topics, and then now you have to play, you have to scrub the information and tell them what's real versus what's not real. It is no fun. It is so defeating when you have to play catch up. So I would say when it comes to certain age ranges, the appropriate age around about is between 8 and 9 to start talking with them about these particular topics. Why? In my day, we were not exposed to as much, but absolutely, I can guarantee you, especially on social media, especially in the news, especially on TV shows, they are exposed to sex, drugs, and pornography type situations, if you will, or the topics. So I would definitely recommend discussing it with them at their level, at their age, based on their maturity. But you don't want to say, oh, they're so innocent, they won't ask me any questions, I'm just going to wait. And then they find out haphazardly from someone else, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta play, catch up, and I have to clean up things, if you will. So that's my first recommendation. My second recommendation would be, when it comes to these three topics, do not shame or judge them. Do not shame or judge them, because it is super hard, even as an adult, to shake off certain things that your parents may have said to you when it comes to sex, drugs, or pornography. What does that look like? When we look at shaming, what that means is, that's so nasty, that's dirty, that's disgusting. Why would you want to know anything about that? That's shaming. It's natural. Hello. I'm supposed to be asking you about sex. I'm supposed to be getting clarity. What are you talking about? That's dirty. That's nasty. What I don't get it. And so you confuse them, and you cause them to then take on that shame and take on that judgment. They're judging themselves for feeling certain things, especially as a 14 and up, around that age or what have you. Puberty is happening, and now they're like, okay, I'm not supposed to feel it. It's dirty. Okay, what's going on with my body? And it just confuses them. So do not shame or judge them. It's so hard to shake that off in adulthood. You would be surprised at how many adults that I counsel that say, I was taught, this particular thing, this mindset concerning sex, and now I have an issue even in my marriage. You would be surprised at how many adults are still having issues when it comes to having candid conversations, even with their husband, their wife, or their spouse about sex. That's a problem. That is a problem. If we shame and judge it, then heck yeah, we're going to be like, and that should be the main thing you're talking about as far as your marriage. Get that stuff together, right? So do not shame, do not judge, because again, you're going to create that issue for them when they get older, and therefore they will not be able to be assertive, speak up, ask for what they need, whatever that may look like in their own marriage or relationships, okay? It's really interesting, but it's very unfortunate. We always want to make sure that we help them understand God created, sex especially, but he did provide parameters around it. And so that's what you're here to help your tween or your teen understand. Let me get a little further into that. My third suggestion would be to not say phrases or deflect the conversation. And what do I mean by that? Don't say certain phrases that will deflect the conversation. Let me say it like that. For example, I've heard parents say, their kid may come to them and ask them, what is a certain thing when it comes to sex? So a product or something they saw on TV. And so they're like, you don't need to worry about that. Or they may ask them, Mom, I like this girl, or when can I start dating? No, you better get your tail in them books. Your head, your mind better be in them books. Okay, so why can't we educate them on dating, being a safe, dater as a young man, treating a young lady like a lady, making sure that, we promote and encourage, let's just say gentleman-like behavior. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to say certain phrases. You don't need to worry about that. You better not be thinking about doing drugs or sex. You need to keep your mind on them books and not them girls. Those are all phrases that deflect the conversation, and it presents a barrier. It's a barrier. It's a brick wall. And so what they will do in turn is they will shut down. Well, shoot. If I can't come to you, guess who I'm going to? YouTube. Guess who I'm going to? TikTok. Guess who I'm going to? Snapchat. Guess who I'm getting information from? My friends. And then they're the ones telling your son or your daughter different information that is not accurate, right? So we don't want to deflect the conversation. We want to make sure that we are always candid with them when it comes to those particular things. My fourth suggestion would be when discussing drugs, especially sex and pornography as well, but specifically drugs, it is important to focus, educate, I'll say it like that. Educate yourself on the lingo and the slang, okay? Because it has changed over time. So there's certain language that goes along with meth. There's certain slang that goes along with PCP. There's certain slang that goes along with K2. There's certain slang or names, if you will, that goes along with weed, different things of that nature, cocaine. All of that's still out here, but is now hidden under certain slang. And guys, in case you did not know, it is also hidden behind certain emojis. All right. So the needle emoji, that means something, different from the demon emoji when it comes to drugs or what have you. So, and these things, they may have different meanings, but it's good to empower yourself and educate yourself or what have you. When I worked for the Texas Juvenile Justice Department, I was a therapist there on staff. And I worked with all young men who had felonies, and a lot of them were involved in gangs. A lot of them did robberies and or sold drugs. And to the extent that they felt comfortable, I would have them school me. I'd be like, okay, what that mean? So if I go to say da-da-da-da-da, that means that I want, a dime bag. And they would laugh at me like, oh, she don't know nothing. I'd be like, whatever, you gonna teach me. And so they kind of got a kick out of it, but that was a way that we bonded. But that helped me to know if I heard certain language on the dorm between other young men, now I can go tell the authorities as far as the correction officers, hey, these young men are trying to, pass pass over some, contraband. Okay. So it just kind of helped me empower myself. So you can go on different websites. You can Google it. What are some different slang words for meth? 2021 words for meth, 2021 words for weed, emojis that coincide with different drugs. It's important to educate yourself so that you're not behind. You're definitely frontward facing and you know what to expect. The next thing that I will say is I want you to give your teen or tween reasons. Give them reasons as to why something isn't appropriate. And what do I mean by that? The first thing is teenagers do not do well with abstract information. They think more in black and white. That's normal. And the reason why that's normal is because their frontal cortex has not been fully developed for them to understand logic and reasoning and processing. So teens are going to think in black or white. So if you tell them don't have sex because I said so, okay, they're going to say, well, why? What's the problem? What are you talking about? Why is it wrong for me versus, somebody else? They need to know reasons. If you're telling them don't do drugs because that's stupid and crazy, let's go ahead and give them a valid reason. Here's a valid information. Would you like a script? Would you like for me to help you on that? I actually have a few scripts for you. Okay, so if I were coaching you and you needed to give information to your tween or teen regarding, let's just go with this one, why pornography is unhealthy. The first thing that you can say is pornography is unhealthy because it gives you an unrealistic expectation when it comes to sex. That's number one. Write that down. Pornography, my 15-year-old, pornography is unhealthy because it creates an unrealistic expectation when it comes to sex. The second reason pornography is unhealthy, my 15 or 16-year-old, here's another reason. The other reason is because it causes you to second guess yourself and it attacks your identity and self-esteem because you then start comparing yourself to what you see. I'm not like that. I don't have that. That's not the type of person I am. Am I supposed to do that? So then you start second guessing yourself, and you start self-doubting, and you also start feeling attacked with your self-esteem. So those are some reasons why pornography is unhealthy. That's my first script. All right. My second script, when it comes to talking to your teens about taboo topics, here's a reason that you can give them when it comes to drugs. You ready? Write this down. Hey, my 15, 16-year-old, here's a valid reason as to why drugs are unhealthy. Because you become that person plus drugs. So, for example, if I take heroin, I am now Crystal Joy Lockett Thomas plus heroin. And that will never leave my system. I will constantly, especially as I continue using, I will crave it. I will no longer have control over it. It will have control over me, to the point that I start tasting it in my mouth when I don't have it enough. So therefore, it controls me. I become crystal plus drugs. That's another way that you can explain it. So it is pretty much attached to you at the hip, causing you to make, certain decisions, causing you to do certain things that are not in your best interest. That is another script that you can use when it comes to drugs. I also gave a video, a YouTube channel a couple weeks ago when I first started talking about this. The YouTube channel that shows candid video interviews with people who have been addicted to drugs, sex, or alcohol, or different things. It's called Soft White Underbelly. And so it shows the progression. For example, one of the young ladies, she got involved into prostitution when she was about 16, and it shows the progression of her being a prostitute within 5 years, and she ended up getting addicted to crack. And so it just shows how she looked when she first got started versus how she looked when she was very addicted, and she was now an addict to that particular drug. So it gives you some good conversation pieces. It helps you to help them see what that looks like if they were to become addicted or if they were to try certain things. And it definitely helps you empower yourself as well as them. Okay, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Here is a script when it comes to sex. Here's a script that you can use or tell them when it comes to sex. Sex includes blessings, it has power, and it has responsibility that comes along with it. It is not to be something that you do lightly. Sex has a blessing, it has power, and it has responsibility when it comes to the act of it, rather. And the intention, especially if you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, you can explain it a different way. But the intention of sex it was created by God between a husband and a wife. And so because it has power, because you are still developing, because you are still growing, my 15, 16-year-old, because you are still figuring out who you are, if you were to enter into this responsibility prematurely, then it will cause you to inadvertently attach yourself to this person, and they may not be a good fit for you. They may not be who God has for you. They may not be your person. They may not be your spouse. All right, so it comes with a lot of power. It's just like me giving a 2-year-old a Lamborghini and saying go. That's another script. That's kind of how you can explain it to them. And then for those of you who are Christian parents, and you can supplement it with biblical scripture principles and teachings. All right, but we don't want to shame and say you don't need to be talking about that. Why are you thinking about it? What you trying to do? We don't want to be accusatory. We don't want to be blaming. It's natural and normal for them to ask questions, so we want to empower them as well. All right, so you can give them those 3 scripts when it comes to pornography, when it comes to drugs, and when it comes to sex. All right, my last recommendation is when your tween or your teen comes to you with certain information. I would love it if my tween or teen came to me and be like, "Mom, guess what happened to me at school today? This person was talking about da-da-da-da-da. Is that true?" I would absolutely welcome that. Like, come on, girl, let's talk. Let me, sit down for a few ticks, because you want them to have accurate information. But they're not going to do it if they don't feel safe, if they feel like they're going to be judged, and if they feel like they can't trust that you're going to give them accurate information. They're not going to do it. They're going to figure it out from Booney and JoJo over there, right? So don't leave any questions unanswered. And what I mean by that is, If they ask you a question, if they come to you with information, if they come to you with a topic or something happened at school today and this person said this, that, and the other, and maybe you're not well versed in that area, you kind of like, ooh, I need to do some research myself. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with saying, ooh, child, that's something I ain't never heard before, or I'm not really sure about that. Let me do some research and find out, and I'll get back to you. There's nothing wrong with saying that to your tween or your teen. They will absolutely appreciate it, because once you're showing that you don't know everything, which is true. I don't even know everything. I got to do research. I got to look up stuff. But it also shows you don't have to be perfect, and they don't either, because it's okay if you don't know things. But it also builds trust. You're going to come back to them and say, okay, so here's what I looked up. I found out the information about the question that you asked me. Here's the real deal about it. Here's the real information. So it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to say, I'm not sure, but let me find out. Don't leave any questions unanswered. Okay? So those are my tips, my recommendations when it comes to talking to your tweens or teens regarding sex, pornography, and drugs. Avoid those mistakes. If you need me to repeat them, let me know. I'm also going to post this on my page. You know, as a therapist, it's kind of like we have to have those candid and hard conversations. So, you know, I'm just going to be out here saying what needs to be said. So whoever don't like it, but whoever love it, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let me tell you something that I'm doing before I go. I'm glad that you joined me. I appreciate you watching the videos. I hope this has been helpful for you. I love it if you would comment, share, like this video, DM it to other people, DM me with other topics that you want me to discuss. But I do want to tell you where are some other places that you can find me, especially this week and the weeks to come. First, you can catch me this Friday at 1:15 p.m. on Facebook as well as Instagram for Let Me Find Out Fridays, and this is where I bring to you current events going on with teens, tweens, and young adults. So catch me this Friday on Instagram and Facebook, Friday at 1:15 for Let Me Find Out Friday. The next place that you can catch me this week is you can catch me on the Peanut app. So the Peanut app is specifically for women and mothers. It doesn't matter if you don't have a child. It can also be for women if you don't have children. And it is a safe space. It is a safe community where women come together and learn from one another. There are all sorts of coaches on there, therapists on there, just moms wanting to find out and figure out what's going on with them and their children, just wanting to be empowered, wanting to gain information. So I'm going to be on there. I'm on there every Friday, but I'm also going to be on there every Tuesday and Friday starting next week. This Friday, I'm going to be there at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'll be discussing how to develop patience with your kids. Now, that's an all-inclusive topic. So if you got a child that's 3 versus a child that's 24, that goes along for everybody. So catch me on the Peanut app. You can actually find that app in your Play Store or in your App Store. You could definitely find it, and it's definitely been a great experience. I've been getting so many messages and feedback from the women that attend my pods. It's called a pod when I do a live over there. I've been getting a great amount of feedback from them, so I'm so grateful, and I'm so glad to be able to assist where I can. So catch me on the Peanut app. I'm going to be talking about how to develop patience with your kids, and there will also be time for Q&A. So Q&A may or may not happen on Facebook or Instagram, depending on who's watching it, if you catch me live. But because most people catch me live on the Peanut app during my pod, then they can, go ahead and ask questions, and I will answer it based on my expertise. So I leave some time for Q&A, and it's definitely been a great experience. So catch me on the Peanut app. And then last but not least, turn on those notifications, turn on those bells, those whistles, whatever you got to find out to know that I'm going live, because, hunty, I'm going to be having an announcement, a big announcement coming up in the next week. So please turn on those notifications so you won't miss when I go live or when I post, all right? Because I'm going to have some big news, a big announcement. I'm super excited about it, and I look forward to being able to share it and offer it to the world. So please turn on those notifications so that you don't miss out. All right. It has been real. It has been fun. I appreciate you joining me. Share. Send me a message if you need clarification, if you need help. Let me know. That's what I'm here for. And you know what? I'm going to say, see ya. Thanks for joining, guys. Bye.